Greetings to everyone out there in the NoDQ galaxy. Welcome to NoDQ Live here on NoDQ.com and the YouTube channel, youtube.com/AaronRift NoDQ. We have WWE SummerSlam this coming Sunday live on the WWE Network for just $9.99 or free if it's your first month. You also get NXT TakeOver, which is definitely worth it. So, Monday Night Raw. Big show this week. Definitely a better Raw than usual. So Raw will not be getting the big D letter grade this week. What letter grade will I give it? You'll have to tune in for the whole video to find out. So, unfortunately, there is some sad news to talk about. The big story today, the death of Jim the Anvil Neidhart. I will be talking about him later on during this stream, so stay tuned for that. I will give my thoughts on his career. Monday Night Raw opened up with Ronda Rousey. The crowd was red hot for her, and I have to say, Greensboro was a really good crowd tonight. One of the better Raw crowds in a long time. They were into the show consistently from start to finish. So I have to give them credit. Greensboro brought it tonight on Monday Night Raw. We had Ronda Rousey come out, crowd was chanting for her, and then she started to talk about Jim Neidhart, and all of a sudden the crowd just went completely silent. It was fascinating how quickly the crowd just quieted down. We had Rousey bring up Natalya and talk about how strong Natalya is. The crowd applauded. So, what did you guys in the chat room think about Ronda Rousey bringing up Jim Neidhart's death? Do you think it was the right thing to do, or do you think WWE should have just stuck with the video package? I mean, the original plan was for Natalya to face Alexa Bliss, and that match was advertised for Raw, only to be canceled. I saw some people on social media say it was a respectful thing to do. Others thought it wasn't appropriate that WWE was making it part of the storyline. I did see some mixed feelings about it. Curtis Butler says it was cool, no issue. Ring Scoops, Wade, Tommy McCardle says, I think it was nice for Ronda to address Neidhart's passing. Ken Terminated by Google just left a $2 super chat donation. I like to see you emulating Ambrose's new look. We'll get to that here in a few minutes, but thank you for the super chat donation. I appreciate it. We had Alexa Bliss come out and cut her promo on Ronda Rousey, basically saying the same thing she already said about Ronda Rousey being a rookie and all that stuff. Overhyped, overrated. Usual stuff from Alexa Bliss to get the heel heat. And then we had Alexa versus Ember Moon. Ember Moon filling in for Natalya. And what was interesting about this match is, I talked about this weeks ago. You need to make the champion look strong. Yes, it's good to have a strong challenger, but Ronda Rousey is Ronda Rousey. She has the credibility, and I feel like WWE has not done an effective job making Alexa a credible champion. It's almost like the female Jinder Mahal effect with her. Josh with a $2 super chat donation. WWE did with what they could with the circumstances. And that's a very good point. WWE had to change plans literally the day of the show. When I went on WWE.com and saw the news about Jim Neidhart, there was still a big graphic there advertising Natalya versus Alexa Bliss. WWE had to change plans basically at the last minute. They did the video package, which I'll get to here in a few minutes. So yeah, they had to change things around with Raw last minute. Antonia, I have no idea what was up with Alicia Fox's outfit. That is something you would have to ask her. I'm not the big expert on fashion. As you can tell, I'm wearing a Freddie versus Jason t-shirt, although as far as I'm concerned, this is style right here. Wade says, I woke up to your text about Neidhart passing. Super sad note to start the day. Yeah, I apologize for that. I mean, it was a pretty crappy start to the week to basically wake up to that news. Michael Blake with a $2 super chat donation. Ambrose's new look is a dead giveaway to turning heel. Again, I'll get to Dean Ambrose more here in a few minutes. Let's talk one segment at a time here. Ambrose will be at the end. Spoiler alert, Ambrose is back in case you guys missed it. So hopefully you were not spoiled by that. But yeah, Dean Ambrose is back. And we'll have more about that here in a few minutes on this live stream. So stay tuned. Anyways, Ember Moon was about to beat Alexa. She hit the Eclipse, and then that's when we had Alicia Fox get into the ring, causing the DQ, and then Ronda Rousey came in. So Ronda Rousey took down Alexa Bliss and then took down Alicia Fox, and this was the final segment for the pay-per-view. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of how Alexa was portrayed here. I don't know if the plans would have been different if Natalya was there. Maybe Natalya would have put over Alexa on the Go Home show. And because WWE changed the match, they decided not to have Ember take the fall. Who knows what the deal is? But I felt like when this was all said and done, I don't buy the idea that Alexa Bliss can beat up Ronda Rousey. Now, does that mean I think there's going to be a title change at SummerSlam? WWE is WWE, and anything's possible. I will give my prediction. You guys will hear it in a few days on NoDQ.com. But going in, I'm not a fan of how Alexa Bliss has been booked as champion up to this point. So let's move on here. Next segment we had was, well, I did want to mention the show-long storyline, which I actually like. I have talked about this before. I like the fact that WWE does a storyline that progresses throughout the entire show, even if it's predictable. And in this case, Dean Ambrose, that was at the end, but prior to that, WWE was setting up something involving somebody appearing and being in Seth Rollins' corner. Basically, they were doing a contract signing, but Seth Rollins was not in the building yet, supposedly, and Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre wanted to look at the contract, and they were getting on Kurt Angle's case. They were upset about Rollins not being there, and we would see several of these segments throughout the show. And meanwhile, we had Baron Corbin come out. Corbin booked himself into a match with Tyler Breeze because he wanted to fight somebody like Finn Balor, a small, tiny guy that he could beat up. And Tyler Breeze actually did put up somewhat of a fight, so it wasn't a complete squash. And I actually liked this match. I thought Baron Corbin got some good heat here. The crowd, I mean, maybe it was just the crowd, like I said. Maybe Greensboro was just on the money this week, and they were enthusiastic about WWE. But whatever the case is, they were into this, and they were booing Baron Corbin. They were doing the dueling chants, let's go Corbin, Corbin sucks. Corbin actually won with the deep six and not the end of days, which I also like. The fact that his secondary move actually beat somebody. I'm a fan of that because it conditions fans to believe that any move could end the match. And more than one move can end the match. And I think when you do that, the fans will buy into the moves more often than not. So I'm a fan of it. I like it. And I did want to talk about Renee Young real quick. She was on commentary for the entire show. She was filling in for Jonathan Coachman, and overall, I thought she did a good job. I think she's definitely better than Coach, and the few times that Corey Graves tried to poke fun at her, she shot right back at him. She did not come off foolish at all. The only criticism I have of her was she says, "Oh," too many times when somebody hits a move. Every time there's a move, or every other time there's a move, she's like, "Oh." And I think she needs to stop doing that. But other than that, I think she did very well for her first time on Monday Night Raw as the color commentator. So good job, Renee Young, and I'm all for her replacing Coachman, period. I mean, Coachman, I like the guy, but he just doesn't have that chemistry with Michael Cole and Corey Graves. It's just not working. Renee Young, I think she did a good job her first weekend. Maybe after several weeks she will get better. Maybe she won't get better. Who knows? But one weekend, I enjoyed her work. Danielle says Renee did a great job. I agree. And Ring Scoop says, I once worked with a guy on commentary that always went "oh" after bumps or spots. It was annoying because he dragged out while I was trying to put over the angle. Yeah, it's very amateurish. You know, that's something that an amateur announcer would do instead of actually calling a move or actually... It's basically the same thing like when you're giving a speech and you're doing or when you cannot think of something else to say. So I just did the right there. And now that I notice I'm doing it, I'm going to keep doing it. Alex Pershin with a $2 Super Chat donation. I'll take Renee's O over Booker T's any day. Agree with you on that, 100%. So next up we had more Baron Corbin because Corbin decided to book a handicap match with Finn Balor going against Jinder Mahal and Kevin Owens. But then Kurt Angle came out. He said he cannot stop the match from happening, but he can add to the match. And he brought out Braun Strowman as the tag team partner in Teddy Long fashion. Crowd was into Braun Strowman like hotcakes, like New Day pancakes. They were going crazy for this guy. Braun Strowman came off like a top-level main event superstar with the fan reaction that he got. We had this tag team match, and it was a bit long. I think I would have gone with a shorter match personally. Jinder Mahal took the fall, which makes sense since he's not involved in SummerSlam, although it is sad when not too long ago he was the WWE champion. And now he's just losing on random episodes of Raw. Even though this wasn't a random episode, this was the go-home show for SummerSlam. But still, he has no match at SummerSlam, and he's taken the fall on Monday Night Raw in a tag team match. TGS says, is Mahal a jobber now? Pretty much, he's back to where he was before. Maybe he's a small step above where he was before, but he's pretty much where I expected him to end up. I figured once he dropped the WWE title, WWE would maybe put him into the US title feud, which they did, and then eventually he would just go back down to the lower card, which is essentially where he is now. So like I said, crowd was really into Strowman, get these hands. Kevin Owens ran away from Braun Strowman again, so that's the final build-up for SummerSlam. Kevin Owens just keeps running away from Braun Strowman again. Not really feeling Owens as a threat to Strowman. If it was me in charge and I was putting this show together, I would want to do something to give Owens some credibility and let the fans know and condition them to believe that maybe, just maybe, Owens can beat this guy. But WWE really did not do that here. So I felt like this was weak in this sense. And I do think the match was a bit too long. Just my own personal opinion. So then we had a guy called Ricky Roberts, which I believe is a little rib on Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson, the Rock and Roll Express, just combining their names to Ricky Roberts. And they were in Greensboro, so makes sense. Ricky Roberts was playing a guitar and he was praising Elias. Elias came out and then did his shtick on the stage. I'll give WWE credit. They're trying to change things up with Elias and not do the same exact thing every single week. And this was another example. I'm not really sure how well it got over, though. Bobby Lashley came out, and then Bobby Lashley was ready to fight this Ricky Roberts. As Lashley was taking off his shirt, he got hit by Ricky Roberts with the guitar. Lashley no-sold it and beat up Ricky Roberts, and that was the final segment, I guess, to lead up to Bobby Lashley versus Elias. I'm not even sure if that's officially on the card or not. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure. David with a $2 Super Chat donation. Hi, Aaron. Please give a hello to my buddy, Adrian. How's it going, Adrian? Thank you for tuning into NoDQ Live. I appreciate your viewership, and thank you, David, for the Super Chat. DVD King with a $5 Super Chat donation. How are you? Love your videos. I will love to get a one-on-one interview with you for my live show I do on Mondays, Call Power Talk. Can I email you? Well, it cannot be during Raw or after Raw, but possibly I can do something. I usually don't do podcasts or interviews, but since you sent the $5 Super Chat donation, maybe I can make an exception for you. Email me, nodqmisc@gmail.com. I would be unavailable during Raw and after Raw for the obvious reasons. Jkin62 with a $1 Super Chat donation. Thank you for that. No comment, though. Let's move on here. So I talked about Bobby Lashley and Ricky Roberts, which really wasn't a match. It was just Lashley beating him up. Then we had the triple threat match for the Raw Tag Team titles. The Deleters of Worlds versus the Revival versus the Tag Team Champions, the Spirit Squad 2.0. By the way, they did a backstage segment. Bo Dallas was calculating the odds, and it wasn't quite the Scott Steiner math promo. If we actually had Scott Steiner make a cameo, that would have been the greatest thing ever. That would have made my night for sure. Raw would have gotten an A. If WWE actually got Scott Steiner to do a segment with the B team, I would have given this Raw an automatic A. Call me biased, call me persuasive, but I would have done it if the real Scott Steiner showed up. But no, they just did some not nearly as funny thing with Bo Dallas writing 33.33333333 on a piece of paper. It was kind of lame. Wade, ringscoops.com with a $1 Super Chat donation. Little plug there. I mentioned ringscoops.com, and he uses $1 to buy some advertising. So go check out ringscoops.com. My good friend Tommy Wade McCardle. And from what I've heard, the legendary NoDQ CAW personality Bobby Spade might be making a comeback. So head over to ringscoops.com for more on that. Big G with a $2 Super Chat donation. Elias and Lashley is not official. Well, thank you for that, Jeffrey. And I guess I'll do a quick plug for Big G. Check out his NXT predictions video with Cindy. It's up on the NoDQ.com channel, so go check that out. Ring Scoop says, getting made with Bobby Spade. You'll have to head over to ringscoops.com for more information on that. John, what letter grade would you give this show? That's why you have to wait. I'm not done yet. I still haven't finalized. I'm still thinking in my head when I'm giving this show. So give me a few minutes here to finish the review before I can properly come up with a very solid letter grade for this show. So anyways, we had the triple threat match for the tag team titles. We had Bray Wyatt, who is the eater of pinfalls, taking the loss here. Curtis Axel pinning Bray Wyatt. But the story here is that the Revival had the match won. They hit the Shatter Machine on Wyatt, but then Axel came in and stole the pinfall. So because of that, the match has been made for SummerSlam kickoff. The B team defending the Raw Tag Team titles against the Revival. So there you go. Another kickoff match added. We have that. We have Rusev and Lana against Andrade Cien Almas and Zelina Vega. All right, let's move on here. Next, we had the Roman Reigns segment with Paul Heyman. Roman Reigns came out, got the usual mixed reaction. He said he's all about leaving this place better than he found it. but he cannot accomplish that as long as Brock Lesnar is around. So he wants to kick Brock Lesnar's butt and send him packing to UFC and send him up Dana White's ass, something like that. Roman Reigns either has to say bitch or ass in every promo. It's part of his contract, apparently, just so the fans might cheer him, which doesn't really work that well. Although, there are people cheering him. So there you go. We had Paul Heyman come out, and Paul Heyman basically tried to join Roman Reigns and become the spokesperson for Reigns. Heyman was trying to say, with me, you can actually beat Brock Lesnar. That's what Heyman was talking about when he said unless, when he did that promo with Renee Young. Basically, the idea is that Heyman feels if he's working with Roman Reigns, Reigns can beat Brock Lesnar. He can tell Reigns all the secrets about Lesnar. But Reigns was having none of it. Heyman wanted a handshake. Reigns was like, no. And then Heyman pulled out a document and handed the document to Reigns to look at. And as Reigns was looking at it, Heyman used pepper spray on Reigns. Brock Lesnar came out. Brock Lesnar actually showed up on Raw. Lesnar beat up Reigns, choked him out, left, and then came back and hit the F5 on Roman Reigns. So what did I think of this segment? I like Paul Heyman's performance, but I think it was not optimal, and here's why. I think this segment should have ended with Paul Heyman handing that document to Roman Reigns and telling Reigns, you got till SummerSlam, just think about it, sleep on it, and then Heyman leaves, and the last shot you have is Roman Reigns there reading it and looking conflicted. Why do I think this would have been better? Because it would convince some fans out there that maybe, just maybe, Reigns will turn at the pay-per-view. And I think if fans think there's a chance Reigns could turn, maybe, just maybe it would not work, but maybe the fans would not hijack the match. If they feel maybe there's a chance Reigns is going to finally turn, maybe they would actually be invested in the match. Instead, they did the obvious thing where Heyman and Lesnar are revealed to be in cahoots all along. They're both jerks. Lesnar's a jerk. Heyman's a jerk. And we're all supposed to want to see Reigns kick Lesnar's ass. So I think this was not done correctly. Christian, or a different spelling of Christian, or Christian? Is it me, or does Brock Lesnar look significantly smaller with a $2 Super Chat donation? Yes, because he is doing the drug testing for UFC, and because of that, he has to cut the weight. So yeah, he is definitely getting ready for that UFC fight. He's in the drug testing pool. Ken terminated by Google with a $2 Super Chat donation. Did I tell you that you need to book WWE? I think a lot of you have said that. I just feel like if the fans thought there was a chance Reigns might take Paul Heyman up on the offer, they would be more invested in the match. Instead, they're being force-fed the same thing. We have to cheer for Roman Reigns. He got double-crossed here. Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar, they're jerks. So it's forcing the fans into having to cheer for Roman Reigns and boo Brock Lesnar, instead of maybe doing a little twist here and maybe suggesting to the audience maybe Reigns is going to do something shocking at the pay-per-view. So yeah, I think this was flawed. Moving on here, we had a 6-man tag team match, which was interesting because there were no entrances for anybody. We just came back from the commercial break and they went straight into this 6-man match. So I'm thinking the Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, Paul Heyman segment perhaps went too long and they had to cut the entrances for this match short. Big G with a $5 Super Chat donation. Tonight might have been Matt Hardy's last match. Check out his Instagram. I will check it out as soon as I'm done with this. Thank you for the tip and the super chat donation, Big G. Ring Scoops with a $2 super chat donation. When the F did we get ice cream? We have not gotten our ice cream bars, I will say that. I'm very disappointed. After all these years, we have never gotten our WWE ice cream bars back. I miss them. I seem to remember liking them as a kid, although some people said they were crap. For some reason, maybe it was just because they were WWE ice cream bars, and I was just marking out for ice cream bars as a kid, but I miss them. I wish WWE would bring them back. So back to Raw, we had the 6-man match with no fanfare, just thrown out there, short match. Bobby Roode pinned Mojo Rawley to win, so actually no 50-50 booking. Roode beat him twice. There you go. But unfortunately, Authors of Pain take another loss here. That's the downside to this. And yeah, Authors of Pain are just floundering. They're just on a treadmill at this point. They have no real direction, and they're just there. And really, Roode is in the same spot, despite picking up another win here. He's not on the pay-per-view. And yeah, for none of these guys, things are looking too bright. Moving on here, we had the Jim the Anvil Neidhart video package, which I thought was great. Definitely check it out if you haven't seen it. WWE almost never fails to deliver with the video packages, and people are asking, you know, why would WWE show a Jim Neidhart video package but not Grandmaster Sexay or Nikolai Volkov or any number of people? It's political, but at the same time, Jim Neidhart was a pretty big star. The Hart Foundation, arguably the greatest WWE tag team of the 1980s. You know, some would say Demolition, but the Hart Foundation, they were on fire. They were top heels. They had a very lengthy run as champions. They defended at WrestleMania 3. They turned babyface. They were a hot babyface act. And they had the longevity as a team. They had that dynamic. Jim Neidhart was part of the Hart Foundation, one of the big angles in 1997. He was a pretty big star. So I'm not surprised for that reason. And I'm not really surprised that there was a video package because he is the father of Natalya. He was Brett's tag team partner. WWE has a close relationship with the Hart family. So yeah, I'm not surprised at all that Anvil actually got a video package, and I think it's well deserved. Mike B with a $5 super chat donation. Here's a donation just for the hell of it. You're awesome, Aaron. Thank you for that, Mike B, and I appreciate all the super chat donations. And Mike B, you're one of the regulars, so thank you very much, my friend. And if you have anything to plug, I would be happy to do so. All right, so moving on here, I will talk more about Jim Neidhart here in a few minutes, so do not click off the video once I'm done here. By the way, we have 340 people watching live, so thank you to everyone out there watching live or on demand. I will be talking about Jim Neidhart as soon as I finish the Raw review, so don't go anywhere just yet when I finish here. We're almost done with Raw. We have a few more segments to discuss. We have Ruby Riott versus Sasha Banks. Ruby Riott still has the happy-go-lucky music. She did get a tan, though. I did notice that. She is tanning, which I guess is good for her, although some might say the pale look makes her more unique, just like with Sheamus, but it is what it is. Josh with a $2 super chat donation. Very well done for the short time WWE had to do it, and that's in reference to the Jim Neidhart promo, or video package, excuse me. So, Ruby Riott versus Sasha Banks. Still no real progression with Sasha Banks and Bayley. I guess they're just cool now. I don't know what's going on with this. Unless, like I said before, WWE is setting up a tag team division with tag team titles. But then it's just disappointing how the Sasha Bayley thing really went nowhere in the end. Anyways, we had outside interference from the Riot Squad. Bayley tried to counteract, but with all the confusion out there, Ruby Riott picked up the win with the good old fruit roll-up on Sasha Banks. And then Bayley was attending to a distraught Sasha, and that was the end of the segment. And who knows what's going on next? There was no real setup for next week. I guess, we'll just see what they do next week. And if anything, it might just be the same thing. Another tag team match, or somebody will join Sasha and Bayley. They'll do a 6-woman tag team match, something like that. Who knows? I really don't care that much. I'm not invested in this storyline. And then we had the main event segment, which was supposed to be a contract signing. And I'll give WWE credit. They're at least changing things up with these contract signing segments. Although, just the whole concept of it, as Kayfabe Candy Ass put on Twitter, why would they even do a contract signing 6 days before pay-per-view after they've done advertising for the match for weeks? It really makes no sense whatsoever. But whatever. I'll check my brain at the door and just go with the flow here. Kurt Angle came out. He wanted to do the contract signing. He brought out, or actually I should say, they came out on their own. Dolph Record Scratch Ziggler and Drew McIntyre. They came out. Kurt Angle introduced Seth Rollins. No Rollins. Dolph Ziggler continues to look more and more like different people with each passing week. This week he looked like Triple H circa 2003 when he had the long straight hair and no facial hair. We had Ziggler and McIntyre cut a promo, and Ziggler wanted the match to be forfeited to him. McIntyre was going off on the mic, and this was a strong promo from Ziggler. It was very lengthy too. I mean, these guys were really dragging this out and milking it because of the ending of the show, which I'll get to here in a second. But they were really dragging this out so the fans would want to see Rollins come out and maybe even see something else. And eventually we did get Seth Rollins coming out right after Ziggler signed the contract. Rollins came out. He revealed that he actually was there all along. He was in the building. He just did not want to reveal it to everyone because he wanted to make sure that Dolph Ziggler signed the contract first. Because in the contract, there's the clause that Rollins gets to have somebody in his corner to counteract Drew McIntyre. And he didn't want Ziggler to chicken out when Ziggler found out who that person is. And that led to Rollins introducing Dean Mother Effin Ambrose, who is officially back from his bicep surgery, which put him out for about 9 months, right about what was estimated. Josh with a $2 super chat donation. Dean looks like the love child of Triple H and Brock Lesnar. So Dean Ambrose cut his hair. He has short hair now. He has a full beard. Kind of looks very heelish. I saw a couple of you in the chat room mention that. And maybe, just maybe, we're going to get a heel turn. Maybe this is just wishful thinking on my part. But we got the babyface pop for the return, right? On Raw. Imagine at the pay-per-view, Ambrose turns against Rollins and costs him the IC title. That would be awesome. I would love that if that happened. And that would be perfect because, as I've said before, when Ambrose comes back the first night, he's going to get the big pop, which he did on this show. So you don't turn him heel the first night he comes back. But now he's back. You got the big return pop. And now you can set the seeds. You can plant the seeds for the heel turn and execute it at SummerSlam and set up something perhaps to build to WrestleMania with Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins. So Ambrose came out. He hit the dirty deeds on, I believe, McIntyre. Maybe it was Ziggler. It was one of them. And you had Rollins and Ambrose standing tall. And that's the other thing, too. Rollins is standing tall here with Ambrose. It's like too happy of an ending. Something's got to happen here. And Ambrose wasn't all smiling. He was very serious. He kind of had this heel vibe to him. So, again, maybe I'm just wishful thinking here, but I would love a Dean Ambrose heel turn on Sunday. I think it would be great. Mike B with a $5 super chat donation. Probably will not happen, but perhaps a double turn at SummerSlam. Drew turns on Ziggler and Dean turns on Seth. That's too much. I would not do that. you don't need to break up Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler just yet. Keep them as a duo for a while. Split them up down the line. Too soon. Too soon in my opinion. But Ambrose turning heel, I would love it. I think it would be perfect. And I think the timing would be right. Nelson with a $2 super chat donation. Should Dean have come back the day after SummerSlam? See, I think if Ambrose turns on Sunday, I think this was perfect. Having him come out on Raw, you have the feel-good moment, and then he turns at the pay-per-view. If the plan was never to turn him heel, if there is no plan to turn him heel, then I think I would have brought him back at SummerSlam as the surprise, and then have him come out and save the day. But in this case, everyone in the chat room is saying Russo finish. It's time. Ambrose needs to go heel. He's been face for way too long, and yeah, he's back now, but you need to shake things up with his character. And he cut his hair. He's got the beard. I say go for it. A heel Dean Ambrose versus a babyface Seth Rollins. I like it. So I want it, and I don't care if people say it's a Russo finish. That's what I want to see on Sunday. And I'm making that very loud and clear. That is what I would like to see. By the way, we're almost at 400. We are at 390. So thank you all again for tuning into the live stream. And of course, thank you to everyone watching this on demand. Let's do the letter grade for Raw, and then I will talk about Jim Neidhart. Letter grade. Definitely better than previous weeks. Was it a lot better? No. I still had a lot of issues. There's one match where I am legitimately intrigued, and that's Seth Rollins versus Dolph Ziggler. I think that match, the ending of Raw, was a home run. So that bumped up the show for me. I like the Jim Neidhart tribute, and the show did flow a little bit better than usual. Renee Young was good on commentary. There were a few good things on this show, but a lot of segments I had mixed feelings about. Roman Reigns' segment, didn't really work for me. Strowman Owens didn't really work for me. And the Alexa Bliss Ronda Rousey build-up didn't really work too well for me. So it was a mixed bag. This Raw was a mixed bag. I am going to go with a C+. A C+, slightly above average, and Ambrose's return, I think, really bumped it up. Without Ambrose, it would have been a C at best, maybe a C-. But Ambrose, I bump it up to a C+. You definitely have to check out the last segment of Raw. And, yeah, I mean, not a whole lot else that I would really recommend watching in its entirety, but definitely the ending of Raw. Alex Pershing with a $2 super chat donation. Ambrose had a brand new t-shirt on, though, staying face. What did the shirt say? I really wasn't paying much attention to it. Does it necessarily mean he's a babyface with that t-shirt? I don't remember what it said exactly. Ambrose Asylum says, do you think Lesnar and Ambrose saved Raw? Not the booking of Lesnar, but I guess Lesnar being there helped a little bit. Return to Society is the name of the t-shirt. So it's not necessarily a babyface or a heel t-shirt. It's just a t-shirt, I think. I don't think it necessarily means anything. So I gave the show a C+. Maybe I'm being too harsh on it, but I felt like it was better than usual, but still flawed. Really, the main event is what brought it up for me, and the Jim Neidhart tribute. And speaking of Jim Neidhart, let me go ahead and give my thoughts on Neidhart and what was a very sad day overall because of the news that Jim Neidhart passed away. By the way, Raw has 68% thumbs up this week, which is much better than previous weeks. First time in a while where we've had more thumbs up than thumbs down. So, yeah, I'm going to stick with the C+, but I feel like maybe I'm being too harsh on the show. I'm going to stick with the C+. Jim Neidhart. So he had a very good career overall. The Hart Foundation, great tag team, one of the best of the 80s, maybe the best team of the 80s. They had a great dynamic, as many people have said over the years. Bret Hart, the technical expertise, Jim Neidhart, the powerhouse, Bret Hart, the quieter one, Jim Neidhart, the more animated one, and then you had Bobby Heenan, or not Bobby Heenan, Jimmy Hart in the middle. William Losh with a $2 super chat donation. Only one member of the Hart Foundation left. Sad. Yeah, that is definitely sad that so many of them have died young, and even 63 is pretty young for Jim Neidhart. Malik with a $2 super chat donation. What do you think the reason of Ambrose turning would be? Maybe he could blame Seth Rollins for his injury. I mean, that is certainly a possibility. Say that Rollins was more occupied with Jason Jordan, if they even want to mention Jordan at this point, but they could come up with something, I'm sure. Just blame Rollins for being out. I think it's simple enough. Oh, Kayfabe Candy says it was Seth's dive that took him out in storyline. So there you go. They got a built-in reason right there. But anyways, back to Jim Neidhart. The team had a great dynamic. You had Jimmy Hart, WrestleMania 3, and the whole storyline. They had a great feud with the British Bulldogs. You had the Danny Davis storyline, which was the first of its kind that I can remember. Maybe the heel referee storyline was done years before in other territories, other promotions, but to me, that's the first one that I really remember very vividly, with the heel referee, the paid off referee. How did he die, says Bootleg Joe. He had a seizure and he fell and he hit his head. I don't know anything else beyond that, but if you go on NoDQ.com, there's some details, and TMZ posted an audio recording of it. I did not post that, but you can check out TMZ also for updates. Regarding Jim Neidhart and the Hall of Fame, I'm seeing the comments here about it. I could see the Hart Foundation as a group, all 5 of them going in. Bret could get his second Hall of Fame ring, just like the 4 Horsemen went in. And maybe that's a way WWE could get Owen in without Martha making a big deal about it. I mean, there are other guys in the Hart Foundation, not just Owen. So should they all be denied because Martha doesn't want Owen in the Hall of Fame? So I would think that WWE, if they were going to try to get Owen in, they would do the Hart Foundation as a group and try to work it that way. We'll see, because the other guys should not be denied. Bulldog, Jim Neidhart, Brian Pillman. Should they be denied because Martha doesn't want the Hart Foundation going into the Hall of Fame? So that's really interesting to see if WWE will try to do that if they can't get Owen in. And Big G says it's been a rough couple of weeks. It has. I mean, we lost Grandmaster Sexay. We lost Nikolai Volkov, Brickhouse Brown, and now we lost Jim Neidhart in a very short period of time. And of course, I also wanted to mention SummerSlam 1990, which I have praised that match many times. I know some people think it's a match that WWE overlooks, probably because of the Demolition involvement. WWE just doesn't like to acknowledge Demolition that much. But that match is fantastic, and Michael Cole even mentioned it on Raw, which I thought was cool. That match is absolutely worth watching. Great storytelling. The odds stacked against the Hart Foundation. It's a 2 out of 3 falls match. Demolition has 3 guys, 3 against 2. They're cheating. One guy's going under the ring, the other guy's coming in, and the Hart Foundation were down a fall. They had to catch up. They won the second fall, and then things were looking bad for them. That's when LOD came out. LOD made the save. They evened the odds. And then Hart Foundation picked up the victory, and Jim Neidhart just looked so thrilled to have won the tag team titles. Great feel-good moment. One of my favorite early SummerSlam matches, no doubt about it. They had some great matches with the Rockers, the Brain Busters, and of course, like I said, Neidhart was part of the Bret Owens storyline in '94. He came back in '97, was part of the Hart Foundation storyline, and just an iconic character. Malik with a $5 super chat donation. Dean Ambrose looks more jacked. Well, I'm sure he's been training a lot, really wanting to get in the best shape possible for his comeback. So I'm not surprised by that at all, that he would be in phenomenal shape. Big Jeffrey saying goodnight as he's heading out. It is pretty late on the East Coast, so I'll go ahead and wrap up this video. Thank you all very much for watching. I appreciate the viewership and the support. Rest in peace, Jim Neidhart. He will definitely be remembered.